already. Girl, I know you understand. I know you there. Girl, I know you know already. What haven't we done before? No, it's not already, but can tell you what's got you away. Those are not, I have no clue what this is saying. Okay. Oh my God, your transformation will emerge when you stop wishing to be sought by others. Your transformation will emerge when you stop wishing to be sought by others. Why? Because you don't want to be sought by anybody else except for you. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. Keeping yourself small is not cute. Shrinking yourself is not cute. Shrinking yourself is not a flex. Shrinking yourself is not. It's not a mindful method. You know what I mean? Withdrawing yourself and your essence is not actually doing what you think it's doing. Like, you think you're protecting yourself by being small and just fitting into the structures that were created for you, fitting into the spaces around you, not making too much commotion in your corner because you're keeping just a corner. We were taught to be small, yes, but we were taught to be small because as children we were taught that children were small, not just in size, but like we were literally taught that children we were taught that children were small as children because of our size. And we obviously did not process that it was because we were not fully developed and all of these things. Even when we were told that we didn't know certain things or that we were too naive or whatever because we hadn't experienced enough, that still discounted our childish or our childhood experiences. Because those are experiences. You feel me? Like, what the fuck you mean I experienced enough? Like, just help me extract the wisdom out of it. You feel me? I don't think it's that I haven't experienced enough. I think that it's that I don't know how to connect the dots. But we're gonna get into that. So just the idea that you as a child, you as an adolescent, you as a teenager, you don't know nothing and you need to look towards something else to guide you until you become an adult. Then when you become an adult, you're supposed to be able to guide yourself, right? But you don't know how to guide yourself because your entire life you were put into a state where you were surrendering to powerlessness. So now the switch of 18 turns on, the switch of 17, for some of us the switch of 16 turns on, and you gotta be a fucking adult. What the fuck am I supposed to do with that? Like, what are you don't know how to be an adult. Why? Because you don't know how to be a human. Why? Because as a child, because you literally were taught that there was a difference between a child and an adult, and there's not a difference. I mean, there's a developmental difference, like biological wise, but biological wise, but when it comes to being a human, we all have power at all stages of our lives. And I'm not fucking arguing with nobody. I said what I said. Children are the closest to spirit. Children are the closest to their truest essence, to the truest source, the highest source. So imagine telling something with so much power, with so much pure potential, so much pure energy that is just waiting to use for its highest good. Mind you, we were also put in categories as children as good or bad, depending on the type of parents that we had. Because if our personalities, which most of them were not, because we were curious children, and a lot of these parents and adults and baby boomers and old people, everybody nowadays, their motto was curiosity killed the cat. So baby, I'm going to stick to what I know, not learning nothing new. So baby, you don't need to either. And when a child comes in and they represent pure curiosity, pure potentiality, pure creativity, you're naturally going to stifle that thing's growth, because how dare you be fucking curious and manifest it? How dare you actively act on your innocence? Because when these adults had their innocence taken away, when they were also told that they were powerless as children, like, this goes back to the feeling of powerlessness. And literally, I talk about this in my podcast episode, but we are all, for the most part, our entire society is addicted to looking outside of ourselves. We're addicted. We are enslaved by the entity of addiction because we are literally the farthest away from ourselves, because you cannot be your most authentic self conforming to a structure. You just can't do it. If the structure is a one size fits all, it just doesn't work that way, because we're not one size fits all. We're completely different people. And while structure is absolutely needed, we need our own individual structures. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, we need to be able to step into our own containers for ourselves, but we cannot step into our own containers for ourselves if we're stepping into our parents' containers as children, or even if when we get to adults, and the only reason why I'm going back to like childhood is because we can get to the root of this shit as us being adults and thinking, okay, well, why don't I want to surrender to the structure? You don't want to surrender to the structure because you weren't meant to, because literally you were pushed into a structure as a child. So we got to go all the way back. We got to go all the way back. We got to go all the way back. We got to go back to that time, or those times, those moments, that childhood of yours where you literally, and see, if y'all see me looking down, by the way, I'm looking at my notes. But bro, a lot of us have single mothers, right? A lot of us have single mothers. And when you have a single mother, or honestly, a lot of us have single parents. When you have a single parent, that parent has to be, or that parent naturally is going to assume the position of both parents, because that's just human nature. I had this thing, and I know that this thing needed two people for a reason, because it serves two different purposes. They balance out the child based off of what they're able to bring. So quite literally, as the parent, whatever you are, you're naturally going to assume the position of the missing piece, or whatever you feel is missing. And when that happens, not only does that create fight or flight for the parent, even though that was a confirmation verb. Not only does that create fight or flight for the parent, even though, mind you, this all goes back to that parent also manifesting this situation for itself, because it grew into an adult that felt powerless as a child, that had its power taken away in some way, shape, or form. And this is literally always going to come back to power, because as human beings, we move through power dynamics. Like, our life is surrounded around power dynamics with everything. That is our relationships. That's how we connect. So quite literally, you have this parent that has manifested a situation where they're now in fight or flight. God bless them, because now we're at you. You feel me? So you're over here trying to heal when, and mind you, this is another thing. We get to a point as the offspring, the child of the parent, that's ready to heal, and we're upset with the parent because that parent gave us so many things, and like it is a genuine level of like anger and resentment that comes with like, why the fuck did you have me if you did not know what you was getting yourself into? But we have to really censor ourselves in the fact that, one, you cannot shame nobody into healing. So holding on to that resentment is not going to do nothing for you. It's just going to push you farther away from holding accountability for your own healing. Two, we also have to process that this is a literal continuous loop of unintentionality until it is broken by you. And the only reason why you're breaking it is because you're being made aware of it and you're choosing to be intentional of the next steps. All of this shit is unintentional. That's why you're so sick. That is why it gets down to like, oh well, humans are innately evil, blah 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 blah. No, they're not. We are all doing these things because we are the furthest away from our intentionality, which is our soul compass, bro. If we knew our purpose, our souls, thank you, Spirit. If we was tapped into ourselves, into our own intuitions on that level, tapped into ourselves on that level, and not so geeked over trying to mold our environments to fit us, because that's what we were grown up, that's how we was grown up to do. All of us would have space to be individual people. And this, we're going to go back to the parents. We're going to go back, not to the parents, but we're going to go back to the childhood. If you had a single parent, and not even if you had a single parent, if you had parents that were operating in a singular mindset, they were imbalanced, and they were trying to overcompensate for the other where they felt the other was missing. Because you could even have two parents. You could literally even have two parents, and if they are both unwhole people, they're still overcompensating for what they feel like you and they don't have. Because at the end of the day, they're only raising you based off of what they have. You are literally their reflection. For real, for real. For real, for real. So when you're taught to obey instead of to find your own authority within reflection, which takes accountability, you're not able to come into yourself. You're not able to come into yourself. And when you don't have, when you had that imbalance of parenting energy, which is the imbalance of masculine and feminine energy, when you have that imbalance of parenting energy, you naturally are going to create, your nervous system is going to create this sense of codependency in order to feel safe. Because we all need emotional safety. We all need safety in all aspects. So you're going to create this response of codependency to feel safe. You're going to cling to the parent, and they're going to become, they have to be perfect in your eyes. You have to put them above you, because you've now put yourself in a space where you don't feel like you can trust yourself. You feel powerless as a child, so now you have to, because you don't have that balance of guidance, you feel like you have to look outside of yourself to that, whatever that is, that person, as your compass. And sometimes, if you're an orphan, or if you didn't, like, if you grew up in a foster home, whatever the fuck, if you're in a situation where you feel like you had no parents at all, you still had to look outside to something as guidance. Because if you didn't have those core people telling you that your core was you, telling you that your authenticity and your true authenticity, not an authenticity, not a representation of authenticity or a look of authenticity, if you was not told that you are your own compass and nothing outside of you, you're going to look outside of yourself, because you need guidance. You need guidance. You need it. 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 You literally need it. And so when you go around denying yourself of help and denying yourself of being seen and heard, and when you deny yourself of interaction, of authentic and honest interaction and connection with other people, you miss out. You miss out on that guidance of coming back home to yourself, because nothing is telling you to come, nothing is prompting you to come home to yourself, because you don't know to, and you don't know who you are, because you were consistently put in containers where you needed to be what that container needed in order to feel safe. So when you fast forward, when you get to a point where you're an adult, you're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Because this container is, you feel lost in the container. Because just because you're bred to be a part of it doesn't mean you're not going to wake up one day. If it's your purpose, doesn't mean you're not going to wake up one day and think, damn, what the fuck is this? What the fuck am I in right now? And that is where depression and anxiety comes in, and in childhood and teenagers and through middle school, all that shit, bro. It's always there. Your suppression, your emotional suppression, who you truly are at your core, your intuition, all of these things, especially my people with spiritual gifts, my people that used to see things, my people that used to have dreams, my people that used to hear things. I'm not talking about, like, you know what I'm saying. My people that genuinely used to be tapped in, that was disconnected from that because they needed to be at a level, they needed to be safe. That's still there. And that turned into addiction. I talked about that in my podcast episode. But that turns into that personality where you need to look outside of yourself. And this is where also that, like, this is where religious trauma comes in as well, because we are told that God is without, that it's outside of ourselves, that it's this entity, this being, this man, specifically a man, a physical human body outside of us. So not only do we idolize, because ultimately we're taught that God needs idolization, not reflection. We're taught that God means idolization and not reflection. And with that being said, we're also taught that God is authority. And God is authority because God is source. Source is authority. Makes sense. But what fucks things up is when we begin to look at our authority as the physical, as a man, as just masculine energy. Because it's not just masculine energy. It's not just the physical. It's not just a man. You can trust far more than just the physical. You can trust everything outside of the physical. You can trust the unseen. You can trust the spirituality of things, the emotions, your inner child, your mind, your subconscious, your heart, your energy sensors. You can start to tap into the unseen things because you'll understand that the whole is the source. Why? Because we're a part of the whole. So you cannot know yourself and be of your own guidance when you are looking, when your authority is just one piece of the whole. When your authority is just one piece of the whole, and that goes back to that single parent thing. Like, when you have a single parent, or when you have two parents that are working that are moving from a singular mindset, you naturally are going to not be whole because you didn't get the full spectrum of existence, of essence, of learning, of, you feel me? You moving through life linear when you're supposed to be moving through all planes, linear and cyclical. Linear and cyclical. We need to move through both. We need to look at the circadian and the infradian rhythm. You know, like, we need to be balancing the sun and the moon. And I really feel like that's why people struggle with non-binary people so much, because we've literally decided that, okay, they them. What is they them? It's the non-binary. It's, you have the binaries, and then you have the non-binary. It's everything. It's whatever. It is the energy. It is, I don't have to fit myself into a container, because bitch, I am the container. I am the powerhouse. I am the energy. I don't have to fit on the spectrum. I am the spectrum. And I get to go on the spectrum. I get to move down the spectrum, or I get to be off that bitch. Fuck a spectrum. What the fuck is a spectrum for? And a lot of people struggle with that because it's easier, and it's really not easier, but because we've been bred for it to be, it's so much easier for us to get stuck on one or the other. Either it's matriarchy or it's a patriarchy. Either it's black or it's white. It's superior, not reflective. It's hierarchical versus reflective. And that's like the biggest thing. Releasing this idea that other people are over you, that other things are over you, because that is what makes you seek validation. And as human beings, first of all, we were here to indulge in the human things. We're here to be humans, to feel the emotions, to desire and seek love and relationships and connections and all of these things and experiences and thrills. We were here to experience the fun shit, but with authenticity. Hold on. So yeah, of course, it's literally okay for us to desire validation, because it's human. It's a sign of connection. You know what I mean? But that desire is best to be acted on when it comes from a place of, I validate myself so much, I love myself so much, I am so whole and curious within myself, that I'm able to share this desire of validation with others. Like, your need to seek validation will dissolve as you begin to actually feed yourself with your own energy. Like, when you stop looking outside of yourself for things to validate you, and you begin to validate yourself, you'll notice that your reality begins to validate you, right? Your reality begins to validate you. Why? Because instead of looking for the validation to happen first, you become the validation, and you allow the validation to attract to you. And that is that I don't chase, I attract. That abundant circulatory energy. But we cannot circulate our energy unless we're being ourselves. And we can't be ourselves if we don't know who we are, and we can't learn who we are if we run away from ourselves. And we'll never stop running away from ourselves if we're still looking for ourselves to fit into this container that we were given. What container were you given? What container were you given? Because literally, shrinking is not going to get you to where you want to go. In fact, shrinking is going to keep you shrunk. Shrinking is going to keep you in the structure. And I know that you don't want to be in the structure, because if you did want to be in the structure, you wouldn't shrink. You'd be able to be yourself in it. Shrinking is a trauma response. So if you're doing that, then you don't want to be there. Listen to it. Listen to your body shrinks. And I say body because our soul never will shrink. It can't. It's always here. Which is why when we neglect our shadow, it's always going to show itself. It's always going to project itself outside of us onto other people, because it can't be dimmed. It can be filtered through unintentionality, but it can't be dimmed. It can never be dimmed. Just like the darkness of it can never be dimmed, hence the reason why it's able to be projected. Because it holds that balance of masculine and feminine energy. It's able to do what it needs to do. It's able to manifest. You are embodying self-sabotage every single time. Every single time you try to be a damsel in distress in order to get the attention that you desire. Have you ever noticed that cling to the things that keep us in a space of helplessness? Like, we'd rather look at the symptom than the root, because if we look at the root, then we'd have to take accountability for it, and we wouldn't have pity anymore. We wouldn't get our power from somebody feeling sorry for us. And that comes from feeling like the only time you were able to get attention is when there was something wrong with you. So you cling to the things that are wrong with you so that you always have something to give yourself attention for. So that you always have something for you to cling to. You know what I mean? So not only are you consistently looking outside of yourself, but you're always consistently looking towards yourself. You're going to get burnt the fuck out. You're gonna get burnt out. No wonder why you don't want to talk to people. No wonder why you literally hop job to job, and why you struggle with your schoolwork, or why you probably don't even want to go to school. And even if you don't want to go to school for spiritual purposes, and you're just laying on your ass trying to figure out what to do next, you might feel lost because you're trying to figure out what to do next. Stop trying to put yourself somewhere. Stop trying to be beside your journey and be with it. It's you. You are the journey. Stop trying to be somewhere where you are not. Stop trying to be somewhere where you're not. You're not going to figure out your highest path by trying to look outside of yourself, by trying to fit into where you think you should be, or what somebody told you should be. Because that still goes back to that codependent thing. You're still leaning on somebody else's validation, even if it's just in your mind, even if you're not even really getting the validation outside of yourself. And even when you're not getting the validation outside of yourself, you're getting that validation within, but it's not from I love myself, I'm whole. And we also think that loving ourselves is the absence of hatred. That is not true. It is okay for us to still be frustrated and not okay with some parts of ourselves that we feel are maybe out of imbalance. We're here to embrace those parts, but what we're not here to do is act like self-hatred does not fucking exist, because it does. And most of us fucking hate our fucking selves, and the first thing is to fucking accept the fact that you don't like yourself. You don't like yourself. You don't like yourself, and that's why you want to shrink. And it's not because you naturally don't like yourself. It's because something outside of it's because growing up you felt like your parental people, your guidance around you hated you. You took on that feeling of hatred because you felt like you were not loved. And it's different for all of us. And I think there's a genuine level of guilt that comes in when we're desiring to articulate our traumas and work through it, but then there's that we are able to also take into account everybody else's perspective, you know? So we have our own perspective of how we felt, but we also know why things happen, how things happen, and all of these things, but we're still not coming to terms with the fact that shit, I know why that happened. But not only did my mom portray feelings of her hate, and I'm not talking about my mom, but I'm saying, like, for the whoever, parental wise, not only did my parent portray that in ways that they did not care about themselves or love themselves, whatever it be. Maybe you grew up around people that didn't keep their spaces clean, or and it all depends on your personal makeup, who you are as a person. Based off of what we need as people, based off of our purpose, we're naturally going to gravitate towards paying attention to certain things that shape who we are, that's meant to, bring us more to a state of homeostasis than it is to knock us off balance. But when we adopt these things that knock us off balance, my mother made a good point earlier. She was saying, like, it teaches you shit. Your trauma teaches you shit. You don't know what it's teaching you, but it's teaching you something. Now you have the opportunity when you get old enough to or not even when you get old enough on your path, because we all awaken at different ages, and some of us don't even awaken. Some of us aren't meant to awaken, but we awaken to our own truths at different ages, no matter who you are. When we get to that point, we have the opportunity to choose how we're going to conduct those power how we're going to conduct those power exchanges in our life. But we have no clue how to do that, because we're still trying to appease and all of us, for some of us, we're still trying to appease that parent. Even if the parent's not there, we're trying to appease them and do exactly either what they wanted us to do, or we just don't do anything unless we get that approval, or we work so hard to rebel against that we just end up in this space where we feel like we need nobody at all. That's what's gonna fuck you up, cause yes, the fuck you do. I say fuck so much. I'm so sorry. I'm really not sorry. It's warranted. But you need, and growing up in a situation where emotional dysregulation is your form of safety, you're taught that you don't need, and that needs are too much. So you just shrink. You become nothing, so that you can be safe, so that you can feel that protection and that love, and that you can feel a sense of emotional regulation. All of these things that we adapt is to feel a sense of what it is that we desire. So if you look at your traumas, if you look at how you're like acting, or not how you're acting, but if you look at if you look at all of your habits, all of your patterns, all of your traumas, you can directly see what it is that you're meant to do, what you're meant to be, what you're meant to embody, who you're meant to become. Not because you're meant to become anything outside of yourself, but because who you're meant to remember, who you're meant to come back to, what your center truly is. None of this is to become anything outside of who you are. It's to become the closer to you, and you will never be able to become close to yourself if you're consistently upholding this hypervigilance, where you're, one, not able to trust yourself, and two, you're creating trust issues outside of yourself. And you're always going to feel hypervigilant and like you can't trust nobody if you don't address the root of the feeling of yes, there were things that I understood growing up, or even things I didn't understand growing up that I understand now. But that does not discount the fact that there are centuries and lifetimes and lineages of fucking anger and suppression of humanity within your blood that is activated when your trauma is bestowed upon you. Quite literally, when you experience that shit, it immediately activates. Whether it lies dormant and it doesn't come out into an adult, or it just stays there, and or it stays there and it actually comes out as a child. Like, bro, what the fuck is that? 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 But literally, when you consistently allow your safety to be reliant on your environment, you're going to always end up in an environment where you can't trust nobody. You're going to end up around untrustworthy people because you don't trust nobody. Because you can't trust yourself. Not because, no, because you don't trust yourself. Not because you can't trust yourself, because you don't trust yourself. And you feel like you can't trust yourself because, why, class? Why do we feel like we can't trust ourselves? We feel like we can't trust ourselves because we're still looking outside of ourselves. What is your container? This should be a series, low key, but what is your container? Dead eyes. And when we get to a point where we only feel safe shrinking ourselves and not taking up space and not allowing ourselves to be seen, we lose sight of our souls and of our spirituality, of our compass, of our innocence. And we begin to do things from guilt and shame and fear. And we begin to fit into that container because that container is just loneliness. The container is the play on loneliness. We all want community. And we were sold the dream that in order to connect, we must confine. And that is not true. In order to connect, you must refine who you are. You must be and come to a sense of your center. You can never truly be yourself if you don't face the spaces and the places that taught you to be nothing. You have to be okay with acknowledging so that you can release. You have to be okay with, because once we release the over-intellectualization of knowing everything that went on, we can actually forgive and move the fuck on, because we felt the totality of how it made us feel and we're able to integrate it and move forward, and not only move forward with intention on our own ends, but we also were able to actually alchemize it because we took the time to understand it. Because we took the time to actually reflect on it and look deeper into it. And that creates self-trust in us because we're teaching ourselves that curiosity matters. Curiosity is just our innocence. Curiosity is just our soul. And the only reason why I say that is because our energy is just pure potentiality. Yeah, we have purposes, but we're meant to follow that purpose through flow. So we are here as pure beings. We can create whatever containers we fucking want to, but we just have to know that we're the soul and the container. We are not just the soul or just the container. We are both. We are always both. We are always both. You are the mother, the father, and the child within. You are everything that you need within. You never have to look outside of yourself. And there is a level of anger that comes with that, knowing that you don't have to look outside of yourself, because we want to be able to look to people as connection. But when you release the desire to be connected, when you acknowledge the desire to be connected and release that need, you begin to attract connectedness, because it's natural. It's a thing. It's not without you. It's within you. It's you. You are connection. You are how pure energy, pure potentiality, soul, source, the universe soul. You are how God expresses itself. Without you, God would just be God. Source would just be source. Energy would just be energy. Without us, without the material realm, without the masculine to the feminine would just be the feminine and the masculine would just be the masculine. It would not be whole. They need each other unless the other embodies the other and becomes whole. But they still need the other. You know what I mean? So releasing that idea that things are above us or outside of us, because they are neither. They are within us. Everything is a reflection of us. And when we begin to see life as a reflection, we don't look without, because it always reflects us. We can always come back to our center of looking within. It's safe to be you. The minute you decide that it's safe to just be you, and you stop trying to step outside of your being, outside of your nature, outside of your body, and you decide to actually anchor into who you are, all of who you are, the wholeness of who you are, is when you can actually, you have a genuine peace of mind in sharing and giving and loving and connecting. The fear of partnership, the fear of connection, the fear of imbalance will no longer be a thing, because you'll understand that separation is not you, that separation cannot exist in a place where everything is everything and the all is the all and all is interconnected and all is a part of one thing. There is no separation in that. There's no separation in that. And when you truly begin to believe that, when that truly begins to be your core, your center, when that becomes your truth, that is your reality. And you begin to create this balanced reality that once felt so far, that once felt so unreal, that once felt like a dream, that once felt unrealistic. And it didn't really feel like that. That's just what was the container we were put in. Separation. Loneliness. You're not lonely. You're not lonely. It just made me think of the lonely man epidemic or something like that. Yeah, something that's like going around on TikTok where it's like the lonely man epidemic. Men are not lonely. They are just so far. And I say men because it's not, I'm not talking about like, I'm talking about males that identify as men, straight, cis, het men. They are so far besides themselves when it comes to their inner compass, their inner child, their feminine energy, their overall femininity. They refuse to tap into any of that shit because they're clinging on to a polarity. I mean, they're clinging on to an extreme because they attach themselves to the binary, because that is what gives them power. Attaching themselves to the binary, attaching yourself to the binary. Think about that. If I just explained that the non-binary encompasses the binary and the non-binary, which is the all, which is spirit, then that means that if you're only focusing on reflecting the binary, then you're only reflecting either feminine energy or masculine energy. What about the integration of it? The male loneliness epidemic is a lack of feminine integration. It is lifetimes and lineages of the male population absolutely fucking hating themselves. And them being praised for it and it being seen as masculinity and power. When you're taught that hating yourself and looking outside of yourself is power, and that is what keeps us alive, because we see power as life force energy instead of our actual life force energy, you're gonna naturally cling to it. Because again, we're always going to cling towards what we feel, what we feel is our highest good, and what we feel is always going to be connected to what we know, what we think. You feel me? I feel like I'm talking a lot. I'm weak. I am talking a lot, and I should take up that space. Talk a lot. Talk as much as you want to. Say everything that you need to say, okay? Because we need you. 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 You, your individual person, serves a purpose. You came here for a purpose. Be you. Stop looking outside of yourself and be you. Because when you stop looking outside of yourself and be you, we can all stop looking outside of ourselves and be us. We can all be each other, and then we can all help each other, and then we can all love each other, and then we can all be whole. So yeah, I love you so much, and I hope that you know that you were never meant to shrink, And you didn't deserve to shrink. You deserve to take up space. I specifically am talking to you when I say this. I love you with everything in me, and you're needed. And I see you, and I hear you, and I'm witnessing your growth. And it feels crazy. It feels transformational as fuck. It feels like you're quantum leaping. Okay? So just keep going. And don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself. It's not your doubt. It's not your doubt. Okay? It's whatever is outside of you. Doubt is not natural to your being. Okay? Okay? Doubt is not natural to your being. Certainty is. Clarity is. And we're not always going to feel clear. But when we surrender and accept the fact that clarity doesn't always feel clear, we'll always be on a clear path, because we'll never seek it. We'll know how it feels when we need it. You feel me? We'll know how it feels when it's here, when it's tangible. We'll never seek it. It'll never be outside of us, because we'll know that clarity is a state that we can reach, because clarity is within us. It is not beside us. And that is literally, probably, maybe, possibly going to be the title of this video. The takeaway from this video, the moral of the story, everything that I want you to know, but I want you to get through your beautiful, thick little soul of yours, your thick little mind, your thick little skull, your thick little body, is that your power is within and not without. And it's going to be a lot of like deconstructing to do within that, if you haven't done that already. But your power is within, not without. And I mean that in every fucking aspect. There is nothing on this planet that you need to look outside of yourself to. Nothing. And I mean literally nothing. There is nothing outside of nature that you need to look to, because your nature. So seek you. Stop seeking others. Stop seeking your mother. Stop seeking your father. Stop seeking your granny. Stop seeking your caregiver, your guardian. And this is for any age. You have power at every age. You are powerful always, no matter who you are, no matter how old you are. You are powerful, and you have the power to be and do whatever the fuck you want. So be and do whoever and whatever the fuck you want. As long as that shit is in alignment with your highest motherfucking good. If you checked in with yourself, if you checked in with your higher power, with your guidance, and it say, yeah, this is gonna get me to where I think I'm gonna go, and even if we fear that we're gonna make the wrong decision, making the wrong decision is still the right decision, because we're never out of alignment. If you check your moral compass, if you check your intuition, if you check with your higher power, whatever the fuck, if you go through your filtration system and you feel like you did everything that you need to do to come to the decision that's gonna benefit you the most, that's from purest intentions, that's not filtered through trying to get around authenticity and accountability, dude, do what the fuck you need to do. Do what the fuck you want to do. Trust your fucking self. You can trust your discernment, okay? But you have to hold yourself accountable. So trust your ability to hold yourself accountable. And the only way that you can trust your ability to hold yourself accountable is if you keep holding yourself accountable. So do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on yourself. It's you. And as long as it's you, it's gonna always bring wholeness, no matter where you go. Even if it feels like alone, even if you're alone, you're never lonely. Even if you're alone, you're never lonely. Okay? Stick to your path. Stick to who you are, okay? And when you feel these feelings that are beside you, because You can tell what's beside you and what's within you. And literally, we begin to identify with what's beside us instead of what's within us, because that's looking externally. So when you notice and become aware and feel what's without, start to identify it as such, because then you'll be able to separate yourself, and you'll be able to sit in what's without it bleeding into what's within. You feel me? You'll be able to sit in your emotions and the 3D and the temporary things and the human things without it completely taking over and stealing from your authenticity and your spiritual and intuitive and highest authority. So yeah, and that was a lot, but I love you so much. I love you so much. Spirit loves you so much. Life loves you so much. You love you so much. You love you so much, bro. You love you so much. Say that. Like, literally say it. Say it out loud right now. I love me so much. My name is Ayani Joel. Say your name. Insert here. My name is Ayani Joel, and I love me so much. Okay? Love you. Love you because we love you. And when you love, we all love. Yeah. Subscribe if you resonate. If you want to join the community. If you're intrigued, if I triggered you, just stick around, bro. Stick around. You want to boss up your life? All you gotta do is get in with me. You feel me? Just stick around. Just stick around. You want to feel better? Just get in with me. Just get in with me. Okay? I love you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.